How's everyone doing today? It's your boy JJ Domination, and today we are here to do another 2020 NFL offseason preview. This time we will be covering the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I'm not sure when this one will go up. It'll probably go up anywhere between Sunday and Monday. Hell, maybe even Saturday. I haven't even decided yet. But as of recording this, the franchise servers are down. Good job, Madden. You're making my future review video just leaning more towards the you got some shit to do side. But anyway, we're not here to talk about their franchise mode being down. We're here to talk about Tampa Bay. We're here to talk about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We're here to talk about the legend, Mr. 30 for 30, Jameis Winston. Is he going to be back? Who knows? But he is going to have LASIK eye surgery. That might, help cut down some of those turnovers. Shaq Barrett, he had a breakout year. Is he going to be back? What could this team look to do in the draft? And what's their money looking like? What's their cap situation looking like? Well, we're going to cover all that here in just a moment. Of course, leave a like on the video, comment, interact. That's what we're here for, man. We're here to have a good time, okay? So, with Tampa Bay, of course, they went 7-9 this year with Bruce Arians, a veteran head coach, Todd Bowles coming in, being the new defensive coordinator. I like Todd Bowles a lot as a defensive coordinator. I think he's going to be pretty good for this team. He's already starting to do some good stuff with this team, despite all of the youth on it. Normally for some of these veteran defensive coordinators, they want to lean towards some of their defensive, veteran players. And for Todd Bowles, that hasn't necessarily been the case. So, looking at Tampa Bay's cap space, their total cap space via Spotrac, as of recording this, it is an $84.9 million. That's a ton of money for a team like Tampa Bay, who was just 7-9, not really having to pay anybody, but they do have some notable free agents, some legit, notable, might have to shell out some money for these guys, caliber free agents. And one of them, well, we'll just talk about all of them. So, quarterback Jameis Winston, right tackle DeMar Dotson, defensive end / defensive tackle Ndamukong Suh, and edge rusher Shaquille Barrett. So, in my personal opinion, I think you give Jameis a 2-year deal. Because, yeah, he did throw the 30 interceptions. You hate to see it. He also threw for 5,000 yards and had 33 touchdowns. And who knows, man, if he cuts down those turnovers, maybe they'll make the 7 seed. That's right, the 7 seed in the playoffs. Because if you haven't watched my new thoughts and reactions on, potential rule changes or, new NFL format video, yeah, the CBA is looking to add a new playoff seed, which would be the 7 seed. Yeah, Tampa Bay might make one of those if they can just cut down Jameis's turnovers. But go check out that video after this one. It'll all make sense. And then, of course, edge rusher Shaquille Barrett. That would be the second player I look to bring back. I don't know if he's a 1-year wonder or not, but he's been a pretty solid player throughout his career. Always more of a rotational guy in Denver. He comes in here as a clear-cut starter, has a career year. Easily a dominant season, one of the best seasons for an edge rusher this past year, and I think that's going to be rewarded with a pretty good contract for Shaquille Barrett. Hopefully, Shaquille Barrett continues to play the way that he has been playing, but I think he will. That's just my gut feeling on that. Now let's look at some potential roster cuts. We have a couple. We're going to start off with tight end Cameron Brate. He saves roughly $6 million. And, Cameron Brate's a good player. He's a pretty good player for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The problem is Bruce Arians doesn't really utilize his tight ends in the passing game. I don't know why. I don't know what it is. But this team has 2 pretty good tight ends on their roster. And one was technically both of them were almost traded. But I say just cut Cameron Brate. I mean, it is going to be a good tight end market with Austin Hooper, Hunter Henry, Eric Ebron. Why not add another proven guy like Cameron Brate to the mix? He might be a lot cheaper for a team, and he'll be just as reliable as some of those names we just mentioned. like I said, he saved $6 million for Tampa Bay. I mean, it's not a cut that you have to make, but it's one that you could look to make. And then the next cut is going to be William Golston, saving roughly $4.75 million. William Golston is more of a fringe starter rotation guy here in Tampa Bay. Do you really want to pay $5 million for like an average player? Not really, not really, when you can replace that position easily through the draft, or hell, even getting a cheaper free agent. So for me, it's an easy decision. Move off of that $4.75 million from Golston and go about your business. Looking at the new cap total after those cuts, you're looking at $95.65 million, so $95.7 million if you just want to round up. A really good number for Tampa Bay. That puts them in like the Miami category. Miami has a lot of cap space to play with, and if they make a couple of cuts, will be in the $96 to $97 million range, and Tampa Bay could be right there with them this offseason, which is pretty cool. Now let's look at some potential free agent targets. We're going to start off with two free agents that are already in-house that we talked about already, and that's Jameis Winston at quarterback and edge rusher Shaquille Barrett. We already kind of went into detail why they should come back. I think Jameis has done enough to at least get a short-term deal here in Tampa Bay. I'm looking at like a 2-year deal, maybe worth around... if I had to guess, because I don't really know what's realistic or unrealistic for Jameis, but 2 years, $50 million. I'll just say like that's probably the most I could see him getting, which is like $25 a year, which for quarterbacks these days, it's average salary, which is funny because $25 million for a quarterback is average salary. Like, that is a weird statement to make. I think that's the kind of deal I expect to see Jameis Winston getting. Maybe it's like 2 years, $47.5 million, something weird like that. But I could see Jameis getting a second contract. And then Shaquille Barrett, like I said, we have to reward him for the season that he just had, because he put on for Tampa Bay. It was a huge part of their success, and hopefully he can repeat this success for years to come, and hopefully it's not like a one-year thing where, oh, I get paid, now I can go be a bum. I hope it ain't nothing like that. Now let's look at outside free agents that this team could look at. We're going to start off with offensive lineman Darryl Williams, primarily a tackle, but he's played a good bit of guard this year for whatever reason. I guess because Carolina likes to experiment with their offensive line game to game. But seriously, Darryl Williams had his best season as a right tackle. He was a Pro Bowler as a right tackle, and we're going to have him come in and play right tackle. He's a much younger option than DeMar Dotson, and to me, would make the most sense for Tampa Bay. He's a rock solid, tackle. And like I said, he's just going to be a younger option than DeMar Dotson. Get younger, pay him a nice little chunk of change, and, protect your investment, whether it is Jameis or somebody else who you look to draft. But Darryl Williams right here is the move. And then our next free agent guy, that's a non-Tampa Bay free agent, is going to be cornerback Jimmy Smith. I think the secondary could use a couple of veterans. I like some of the young guys here in the secondary, like Sean Murphy-Bunting. He's one that comes to mind at corner from Western Michigan, who they just drafted this past season. But I think having a veteran like Jimmy Smith be the number one guy and have Sean Murphy-Bunting being the number two guy, I think that'll benefit the team. Jimmy Smith right now on the Ravens is probably cornerback 2 or 3 behind Marlon Humphrey and Marcus Peters, which is just crazy because Jimmy Smith is a great corner in his own right, but he's not one we talk about as much. And a lot of that was because I think he missed like the first half of the season, which is devastating. But when he came back, he looked like he didn't miss a beat, which is good to see. Jimmy Smith, you can give him like a 1 or 2 year deal, maybe make it to where you could cut him in year 2. But for Jimmy Smith, to me, it just makes a ton of sense. Add a veteran to the secondary for Todd Bowles' defense. You're going to get a corner with some good size, can play man, can press, kind of like what Tampa Bay wants to do. They want to run more man coverage. Jimmy Smith is the right corner for that. And then the final free agent target is going to be strong safety Tony Jefferson. Tony Jefferson was recently released by the Baltimore Ravens, saving them a good chunk of change. I think a veteran, safety back there with these young corners and safeties as well for Tampa Bay, I think would be the right move. Adding Tony Jefferson, a proven veteran, a guy that just wants to play football, man. He's talked about it in interviews before. Like, for him, it's not completely about the money. He just wants to play football, wants to put himself in a good situation. I think Tampa Bay would be a good situation for him. Coming in here, being the veteran safety, pairing up with Jimmy Smith, the veteran corner, and just kind of mentoring the young guys and playing alongside them, showing them the ropes and, like, how to, be successful at the next level, how to be, just how to be a pro, really. It's not like these guys don't know how to be a pro, but I feel like adding veteran playmakers like those two, and they're both former Ravens, which is something I just realized, just very interesting. Now for my first round pick for this team, I have defensive tackle Derrick Brown. Now this was based on my mock draft 1.0. My 2.0 is going to come out after the combine. It could change or it could stay the same. Who knows? But for now, I have Derrick Brown. Realistically, players slip every year. Derrick Brown should be a top 10 pick easily just based on his talent and his ability. But he's not. And a lot of that has to do with the defensive tackle position being devalued in today's game. It's kind of like running back. Like the best of the best are clearly the best of the best. But if they're not Aaron Donald or Fletcher Cox, if they're not like a top 7 guy, then they're pretty much, easier to come by. If it's not Aaron Donald, Fletcher Cox, Chris Jones, Grady Jarrett, DeForest Buckner, Kenny Clark, if they're not none of those guys, then, it's kind of easy to find the next guy at that position. Derrick Brown, to me, could be a beast, and at 14 is a steal. When you look at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, some other positions they could look to address, though, definitely offensive line. Ali Marpet is a free agent in a year. I think Ryan Jensen has another year or two on his contract. Maybe it's just a year. Right guard, you still have a hole there. I know you drafted Alex Kappa as like a mid-round Senior Bowl breakout player, but he hasn't really been much for that team. Donathan Smith is a fine left tackle. He's nothing special, but basically just draft offensive line. Just try to help out whoever your quarterback's going to be. Running back, this is a team where I think in the second round, if he's there, you got to go take DeAndre Swift to be your running back number 1. Peyton Barber's a free agent. I'm not in the business of paying running backs. Ronald Jones is fine, but he's a good complementary back. I don't think he's the guy, at least in this stage of his career, when it comes to Tampa Bay. Wide receiver depth. Brashad Perryman was a free agent for the Bucs as well. A guy that I did not talk about. A lot of that is, in my opinion, I think it's a bad time to be a free agent wide receiver because this wide receiver class is so talented. It's so deep, as well. I think you can go in the 4th round and easily find your Brashad Perryman replacement. I don't think it's going to be that difficult at all. So that's kind of like the move that I have going here for Tampa Bay. Defensive line depth, you're going to add Derrick Brown. I feel like you should add like another guy as well. Just why not, have some depth, in there at the defensive line. And then defensive back depth, maybe you go get another young guy or two to come compete and be roster bubble guys and maybe push one of the guys out. So that is my 2020 NFL offseason preview for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The next one will be about the Denver Broncos. So hopefully you guys enjoyed, and peace out.